Chúc mừng năm mới. Happy Lunar New Year wherever you are, the year of the ox. Thank you for joining me for the first Bureau podcast for 2021. I'm Matt Cowan, the Bureau Chief and your host. I've got a big show for you today, so let's get into it. Joining me today is the Bureau's content manager, Melanie Kasul. How are you, Mel?
Hi, Matt. Happy New Year to everyone. Did you miss us?
Now, you're from the Philippines. Which is bigger, New Year or Lunar New Year?
Christmas. We started in September and all the way up to, January for the first Sunday of January.
Yeah, it's pretty huge, isn't it?
Yeah.
Well, wherever you're listening in Asia or the rest of the world, we hope you have a safe and better year than last year.
So, what's on the show today, Matt?
Well, Mel, I'm glad you asked. This year, the Bureau is taking a slightly different approach. We're going to tell more stories about us and Vietnam, with more of a focus on discoveries, experiences, and eating, which of course can all be found on our social media on Facebook and Instagram and on our website, thebureauasia.com.
Okay, but what does that exactly mean?
Well, we're going to turn the lens a little bit more towards us and tell our story a little bit more.
How we see,
how we
what
things,
we discover.
How we taste, exactly.
Okay. All
And tell those stories to our audience, our following that we've managed to build over the last few years.
Okay, all right, let's do it.
So I thought we'd kick off the year with an episode on Vung Tàu.
Ooh, I love Vung Tàu.
Because I've spent a bit of time there recently and discovered some really cool things.
Yeah, I feel that Vung Tàu is under appreciated, and it's not as, everybody thinks, just because it's the neighbor of Saigon.
Yeah, it's just down the road, isn't it?
Yeah. So that's good. Good choice.
Okay, so let me give you the basics first. Vung Tàu is a beachside town approximately 100 kilometres southeast of Saigon, which is around 2.5 hours by car or 2 hours by ferry.
Or 1.5 hours by motorbike, according to some of our Vietnamese
and
friends.
And about 5 hours if I'm driving, or 6 hours. Takes me forever to get there. And if you go by car or ferry, especially ferry, it's around 280,000 Vietnamese dong. That's about $12 one way. Yeah, one way. And you can catch the ferry from the terminal here in District 1.
Is there, because I heard that the ferry stopped, so are the ferries back on rotation now, it's regular?
Yeah, it's regular. I think it's daily, and it's just the number of times it leaves each day. So it's about 3 times a day. I think it's 10 a.m., 12 and 2.
And then coming back.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. Vung Tàu has a population of around 500,000 people with 2 major beaches known as Front Beach, in Vietnamese, Bai Chup, and then a much bigger beach called Back Beach, called Bai Sao in Vietnamese, which is on the windward side of Small Mountain, which, interestingly, has a 32-metre high statue of Jesus on it.
Ooh, just like in Brazil or something.
Yeah, I haven't been there. Like Sugarloaf, hey?
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I haven't been there, but something like that, yeah. Back Beach faces the East Sea, perhaps better known in the other parts of the world as the South China Sea. But that's a contentious issue, and we don't want to get into the politics of it. But it faces the east, and if you sailed in that direction, you'd eventually hit the contested Spratly Islands.
Okay.
They're also known in Vietnamese as Chung Sa.
Okay.
And then there's the Filipino island of Palawan.
Yeah, we're directly you can run a straight line
that's right.
through Palawan in Puerto Princesa, which is the capital.
Yeah, that's right.
Straight to Vung Tàu.
Yeah, some of our listeners might have heard of Puerto Princesa.
Yep.
Yeah, it's a popular holiday destination. I think plenty of diving and whatever else. I'd love to go there one day. Now, Vung Tàu is a fishing town, of course, but it's perhaps better known for shipping and oil. Ships cruise back and forth past Vung Tàu to Ho Chí Minh City through the network of rivers and estuaries. And Ho Chí Minh City is actually located on the Saigon River inland a bit, not on the ocean.
And Vung Tàu is what? Does Vung Tàu act like a bay or a strait?
Well, Front Beach is a little bit of a bay. It's quite protective. But Vung Tàu basically is on a peninsula. A small peninsula quite south in the country.
All right.
Yeah, that's right. And pretty much directly southeast of Saigon, only about 100 kilometres, as I said before. There are a number of oil rigs offshore still, and back in the 90s and 2000s especially, Vung Tau was well known as an oil or petroleum town.
Ooh, black gold.
Yeah, and remains so. Perhaps not as, oily as it was back then. There was a sizable Russian community there, and
because
there's still
of the oil?
I guess so, but also obviously the historical links between the two governments. And finally, it's just an easy place to escape to from Saigon for the weekend, as we mentioned earlier. Yeah, the weather's cooler. There's an average of high 20s to 30-degree temperatures all year round.
So actually, when it's summertime in Saigon, it would be summertime in Vung Tau as well. There's it's
only 100 kilometres away.
Yeah.
But it's just a bit cooler, obviously, because of the sea breezes.
Okay. I get what you mean.
We don't really get much wind in Saigon, to be honest. This time of year in February, like last night, was quite windy, was unusual.
So when you were in Vung Tau, which was windier, front beach or at the back?
Always back beach. Always. Now, Vung Tau has an interesting history too that sometimes gets lost on travellers, as you mentioned, Mel, and especially foreigners who live in Saigon. The town has a kind of seedy reputation, at least in the past.
Okay.
When oil was booming, and there were plenty of girly bars to keep oil workers and whoever else happy once they came ashore.
So it's like a girl in every port kind of situation.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think so.
Is it still like that?
Well, there's still sort of that
red light district?
I don't know if it's official or unofficial girly street. It's called Winjai Street.
Okay.
It has changed a lot. Not apparently. I've heard.
Because of COVID, a lot of, bars and restaurants have closed.
Well, that definitely, but the streets changed a lot over the past decade.
Okay.
I guess based on oil prices, fewer oil rigs out there, fewer oil workers, and I guess less demand in more ways than once. And you can see the remnants of the girly bars there, the Seaman.
The Seaman building?
Seaman Inn, I think, or something.
Yeah, there is a very famous outpost there. It's called the Seaman Bar, right?
Yeah, something like that, yeah. Anyway, like much of the south, things started as a swamp in Vung Tau, which isn't really much different.
Well, District 7 here in Ho Chi Minh City is started as a swamp. Still, most parts.
Yeah,
it's also a swamp.
That's right. Well, the difference with Vung Tau is that European trading ships visited regularly because of the access to Saigon or Ho Chi Minh City, just offshore of Vung Tau, and it's still the case today. So if you go there, you'll see the ships coming and going, cargo ships, oil tankers.
Oh, and even cruise ships at one time.
Cruise ships,
I remember.
That's right, yep. And allegedly, Vung Tau gets its name meaning anchorage. Now, I know that Tau means ship, so there's merit in that. I'm not too sure what Vung means in this case. Around the 14th and 15th centuries, it was a magnet for Malay pirates.
Arr, me hearty.
Yeah, they'd wait in the protected cover there of what we know now as Front Beach.
Okay.
And from memory, that beach over the years has been called Coconut Beach as well.
Okay.
So there are still coconut trees there. Coconut palms there, I noticed the other day. And yeah, that's around Front Beach, and I'm assuming they were waiting there to, board the ships passing
and steal
through.
like the cargo in the ship.
Because there was quite a strong trade, or it was a very busy trade route coming through that way.
Wow.
And I guess up the coast to Hoi An, up to the central part there. Yeah. But like Ho Chi Minh City, Vung Tau's name has changed a few times over the years. I believe it was originally called Tam Tang. Or Three Boats.
Okay.
Apparently, that means. After the first three villages or communes in the area, they were Tang Nyat, Tang Ni, and Tang Tam.
And all of these 3 communes is still there? Like,
Well, if you check Google Maps,
Yeah.
you'll see definitely see Tang Tam
okay.
on the map there, and it's around Back Beach and close to the Imperial Hotel
Okay.
area there. And the Tung Ni area is from Big Mountain, sort of behind that, with Leloi Street forming one of its boundaries, and Tung Nyet further on from there.
Ah, so only Tang Nhi doesn't have like a beachfront boundary. It's like more inwards.
They both are on the water, but the Tung Tum area is near Imperial Beach, which is Imperial Hotel, which is Back Beach.
Okay.
And then the other 2 are sort of around the protected side of current day Vung Tau.
All right.
Yeah, but then the French came along in the mid 1800s and renamed it Cap Saint Jacques.
Like Captain Jack Sparrow.
Yeah, it's some. Maybe that's where they got that story from.
Cap Saint Jacques.
Apologies again to French speakers. I don't know how to say it. But in Vietnamese, Cap Saint Jacques.
Yep.
So they actually say that in Vietnamese, and you'll see some references to it still about town as names of hotels or places.
That's right.
Yeah, so perhaps the odd karaoke place or
No, there's a
two-star
hotel that's named.
around. I think from memory, even Google Maps might have it pinned there as well. And apparently some of the oldies still refer to it as Caps and Jack.
Oh.
Yeah, so quite interesting. And then when the French were booted out, it became known as Vung Tau.
Okay.
Of course, the Aussies were also based there
For their
during the war.
R&R.
Yeah, I think they were based out at Long Tan, but ducked into Vung Tau for a bit of R&R. And it was also, Vung Tau was also the launching place for the boat people who eventually made their way to other countries around the world.
Oh, and maybe that's where they came from when they landed in Palawan in the Philippines.
Perhaps so, yeah.
Yeah, because,
there's a good chance.
Yeah, because in Palawan, there's actually a lot of Vietnamese there.
Okay, now, so food. Now, this may come as a bit of a surprise, Mel, to some people, but Vung Tau is a really good town for foodies, especially if you're into Vietnamese food, obviously, and seafood.
Well, I agree. I mean, one of the first chain restaurants that I discovered all those years back in Saigon was Ho Ba Vung Tau. So,
super famous.
So, I mean, that goes to show that it's not, it's not nothing, that there is a foodie culture and a rich history of food in that area.
Totally.
Yeah.
Vung Tau, there's so much great food there. And I'm just going to list a few here that you really got to try if you get yourself to Vung Tau in no particular order because they're all awesome. And, actually, the first one has to be bánh khọt.
Oh, yeah.
It's either officially or unofficially the
national.
What do you call it? The special
official
dish of Vung Tau, and of course they're those tasty little deep fried pancake disc things with shrimp.
Yeah. It's about the sound, right? That's the name.
No, that's bánh xèo.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
I'm not too sure about what the khọt means. It's the most difficult word to pronounce in
Bánh khọt.
Yeah, I can just never say it properly. But anyway, I think you guys know what I mean, and I'll put it in the show notes.
Yeah.
At the end. And there's a little place in Vung Tau, of course, and it's called Bánh khọt. Well, it doesn't have a name.
Okay.
There are so many little places, mum and pop places around Vung Tau, and they don't have a name. You've just got to go by an address or just
go by the lines.
Go by the lines. I call this bánh khọt com ten. Com means no, and ten means name.
Mm-hmm. No name.
But I do have, for most of these on my list here, a video.
Okay, great.
For each, so anyone interested can go and check them out. Mm-hmm. The next one on my list is Bánh Tiêu.
Okay.
The Bánh Tiêu ladies. And it's a regular place that I hit up when I go there because they do these little, again, deep fried little snacky things.
Like a donut.
Yeah, kind of.
It's got filling, right?
It's got a little bit of filling, but they're rolled out. The dough is rolled out flat, and then a bean mix goes in the middle. Then the lady sort of rolls that up together.
Yeah.
And
Sesame
then
seeds.
Well, the tew part is pepper. So it would roughly translate as pepper bread or something.
Interesting.
Anyway, she's been there for about 25 years.
Wow.
And she sells these little babies for like 5,000 dong a pop.
Wow.
And like many of these places in Vung Tau, you have to call ahead or you have to visit the day before because they're so popular. And
they run out.
They run out, and they also make these things traditionally. They don't pre-make them or they don't bag them up or whatever.
So they have to do everything from scratch, and it takes time.
And she basically does them there on the spot as well. She rolls them and whatever else. The next one is the Bunse. I'm calling her the Bunseo DJ. Yeah, she's another place, has no name. Just go by the street address. And it wasn't until I was editing the video of her that it occurred to me that she spins her woks like a DJ spins their vinyl. Yeah, and I haven't really seen anything or anyone like it.
She's by herself.
She has a husband.
Everything. Okay.
Like every successful woman, there's a great husband in the background. And he takes care of, orders, the cars turning up, the motorbikes turning up, people on foot turning up, checking the clock. And it's not unusual. When I was there, I got there. I actually went there 2 days before and said, hey, I'm going to turn up in the next couple of days. Can you squeeze me in or whatever? Yeah. And I think they said yes. Anyway, I turned up pretty early on the opening. And while I was there eating, I don't know how many people she turned away. People were turning up and ordering, and she's like, no, come back at 6 or come back at 7.
When you said like she's like a DJ, how many walks is she working on?
She has like 4
all at the
gas
same time.
Burners.
Oh,
yeah,
wow.
so she also does a take on bánh khọt.
Oh, okay.
She does her own version. So it's not uncommon for her to say have 3 to 4 bánh xèo on the go.
And then a bánh khọt.
And a bánh khọt happening.
Wow.
Meanwhile, just trying to run a shop and everything else. And she's an absolute machine. And like all of these ladies, no small talk. Just order, sit down, shut up, eat, pay, get out. Yeah. The next one is, this was a super find. I've been looking for banh mi for a long time in Vũng Tàu, and there's a famous one called banh mi com ten. Again, banh mi no name, but I tried that out. And I don't think it's really worth it.
Okay.
This time round, I found banh mi go man.
So go man is the brand.
It's Auntie Man.
Auntie Man.
Yeah, that's the name of the man. Look, I'm not sure whether I'm pronouncing it properly.
Okay.
But, go is auntie.
Auntie,
right?
yeah.
And I found this place right under my nose, right near Fusion Sweets.
What's the difference between this banh mi in Vung Tau than the banh mi, let's say, in my neighborhood here in Saigon?
I don't know if there's a lot different. They do a shumai as well.
Yeah.
So they'll put your little sort of shumai dumplings in. They do a char siu or sa siu, as they say in Vietnamese. Just good quality bread.
Okay.
Great bun. And the ingredients are great. They also do a wicked pate as well. So, but I found out these guys have been operating for nearly 50 years.
Okay.
Originally up around Front Beach somewhere, but
and
now
moved
back.
Yeah.
And I'd driven past this place
tons of times
over the years. And then Mr. Din at Coco Homestay, he pointed it out to me. He said, this is the best one in town. And I have to agree, 20,000 dong.
Yeah. Well, listen to the locals. That's what I say.
Yeah, for sure. The next one that is a must try is has this unusual ingredient, and it's called tom tut, and tom is shrimp basically, and then this thing its name is tut, but up in the north they call it bebe.
What is that?
It's like a cross between a lobster tail
Okay.
and what we would call in Australia a yabby.
So it's like a
yabby
crawly.
tail, like a crawfish.
Crawfish.
Is that what they say in the States?
Maybe.
So it's like that. It's like a tail with at one end it has eyes on it, and then underneath has little legs.
Oh, so it's like a cross between a shrimp and a lobster, like a big shrimp and a small lobster.
Yeah, and apparently they grow quite big.
Freshwater.
Bigger than your hand. No, salt.
Oh.
But at this particular place, which is actually called Bebe, they use these small ones.
Okay.
They're only about as big as your finger.
Is it a noodle dish or a...
Yeah, so it's a noodle dish. So
Okay.
Traditionally in the north, they have more of a noodle that's like fettuccine.
Okay, thick.
Yeah. Yep.
White.
And in the south, it's more typical to have that sort of white
Rice noodle.
Yeah.
Yeah, flat one.
Yep. So I had the one that was the more traditional one. And Mr. Din, who was with me at the time and who recommended this place as well, he had the southern style one.
Okay.
So there's also shrimp in it, squid, of course.
Something that I would probably eat and then just blow out in allergies.
Oh, yeah, you would. They also use that crab.
Paste.
Yeah, like a crab paste thing in it as well, which is super good. And then finally... for a lot of years I was off snails. I didn't really eat snails a lot in the last few years.
It's too fiddly as well. I mean, that's my personal take, You have to
it is very fiddly.
Get like a little pin. Yeah. So you're not a big auk fan?
Well, I am now. I am again now. Massive fan after trying this one out on my previous trip. And I'm calling it Comden.
No name?
No name. And... she's a lady who's set up under a tree somewhere around Front Beach.
Wow.
And I've got a video on that as well. I think I've got a video on pretty much all of these. So if you want more information where they are and whatever and what the hell these foods are, go and check that out. So super. Tons of places to eat in Vũng Tàu. Okay, now some cool discoveries, Mel, in Vũng Tàu.
Yep, this show is all about Vũng Tàu, baby.
Yeah, so another place in Vũng Tàu that I must have driven past hundreds of times.
Is it on the main strip?
Yeah, on the Front Beach side. Anyone who's familiar with Vũng Tàu would know Gun Hao.
Yes.
One. Gun Hao Mop.
Yep.
And,
the original.
Yeah, the original. And it's past there. And it's called Ocean House Cafe.
It's a coffee shop.
Well, it's a restaurant as well.
Okay.
I've since found out, but I went there in the morning and I went there for a coffee. Just an awesome view, quiet, understated place.
Wow.
Great place to escape the heat, except perhaps in the afternoon because it faces the west.
the west, yeah.
Certainly in the evening, it would be an amazing place to have dinner and a glass of wine and watch the sun go down.
How about the wind? Breezy?
Yeah, nice little breeze there. Yeah, I can't recommend it enough. The coffee was a reasonable price. It was laid back. I do have another video on this as well, a short clip on that has done quite well on Facebook, interestingly.
Cool.
With a nice little reggae vibe. The other one is, again, another place I've driven past a million times. This time when I was there, when I first turned up in Vũng Tàu, I was talking to a local and they said, look out for a pool on the water on the Front Beach side.
Like a swimming pool?
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah, so after I'd been to the cafe, Ocean House Cafe, I decided to keep my eyes a bit more open and I saw a little bit of blue shimmering through the water.
What's the place called?
It's called Pool 28 and it's at this place called Valley Mountain Hotel.
So it's like a swimming pool in the middle of the ocean?
No, it's just on the shore.
Oh, sorry.
Just on the shore.
Oh.
It's a hotel, but I think the pool complex gets subcontracted out. It's a separate business, I think.
Can you like walk in?
Yeah,
or
you
do
walk
have
in
to
and
be...
you pay. I can't remember what I paid to use the pool for the whole day.
Okay, wow.
Might have been 100,000 for the whole day. But when I was there, of course, no tourists, so I had the whole place
unfortunately, yeah.
But on the upside, I had the whole joint to myself.
Well, that's the thing, you know, if you have a really good place, it can't be exclusive, not at this time. You know, you have to open it to the public, whether it's a walk-in and that family or that person is not staying at your hotel. You just have to be open to, you know, adjust to these kinds of things. Yeah.
Cool little bar there, and you can get some food and stuff like that. And the rooms are good, about somewhere between 800,000 and $1 million a night, but you get ocean view and pool.
But if you don't want to stay there, if your budget is below 800, you can just pop in.
Yep. Yeah. And finally, the other one for cool discoveries, no stranger to people who know Vung Tau well, is Bally's Restaurant. An Aussie bloke set up a pub there a while ago, and I had this massive club sandwich there.
Is that a very Australian thing to have, a club sandwich?
Probably back in the 80s.
So it reminded you of your childhood?
Yeah, I don't think I've seen one since then. But this thing was massive, and I walked in there one night and I said to the old blokes hanging around there, I said, hey, what should I have? No one said anything except an American guy. There was an American guy there, and he goes, you know what, man? I always have the club sandwich.
Awesome.
And I'm like, oh, shit, I haven't had one of those since the 80s. So I ordered it, and when it came out, it was nearly as big as Bally's belly. It was huge, absolutely huge, and all the blokes around were just staring at it. I took a bite out of it, and then I looked up, and they were all looking at me, ready to take it.
Cool discovery.
Yeah, so only about 160,000 dong for that. It's a wicked sandwich. Get yourself into one of those. Okay, so Mel, you probably didn't know that whale worshipping is a thing.
In Vung Tau?
Well, at least it is in Vietnam and Vung Tau, yes. And it's actually practiced right along the East Sea coast of the country, mostly in the south, though, among fishermen.
Well, it's not as surprising, but what I want to know is what's the connection? Like, Vung Tau has this massive Jesus Christ statue on one of its mountains. And for Christians, there is a Bible story called Jonah and the whale.
Right, okay.
So is that at all connected?
I don't think it is.
Oh,
I don't think it is. It's not a Christianity thing.
Okay.
I think it's more sort of animism, where it's the fishermen aren't looking to the skies
for help.
It's this
where they are kind of thing.
This whale. Yeah. So in Vietnamese folklore, it allegedly began at the turn of the 17th century when a Nguyen emperor fled attacking forces by escaping to the sea. But in doing so, he was met with a storm that threatened to sink him and his troops. As the story goes, a whale rose from the depths and lifted the emperor's boat and carried him and his men to safety. To thank the animal, they bestowed upon him the title of Ga Om. Ga is fish.
Fish, yep.
Essentially, a broad term for fish. Yep. And Om is like an honorific term for, it's kind of like sir.
Okay.
You know, you might see that in Vietnamese official documents.
Or invitation letters.
Yeah. So I would be Om Mat.
Yeah. Oh, wow.
Ever since, there have been many stories about how whales have saved stranded fishermen and boats at sea. These days, there are temples up and down the coast of Vietnam, and there happens to be one in Vung Tau. It's a fairly small complex on a street corner, surrounded by a large wall, which isn't uncommon for temples in Vietnam. But something struck me the day I visited recently, where there were these small dog statues on each pillar,
like a
post.
Decorative element.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, I guess so. I thought that, but looking into it, I realised that, or found out that the fishermen who worship whales, they also show deep respect for dogs.
Okay.
Which is significant, I think, because there's actually a long history of eating dog in Vietnam.
Okay.
And in fact, during my previous visit to Vũng Tàu, I came across an eatery that specializes in dog and cat dishes.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, these little dogs are sitting up on the fence there, sort of
watching.
Yeah, watching outwards over the street as if they're protecting the whale temple and the whales inside.
So is the whale temple like a museum as well, where you can go in and learn something?
Well, yeah, I guess like most temples, they're kind of living museums in a way, but this one's a little bit different in that there are about 3, I don't know what you call them, glass
pagodas?
Glass boxes.
Like a display area?
Yeah, displays. And they've got actual whale bones in them.
Are there whales in Vung Tau? Is this like a migration route?
I don't know, but allegedly there are whales. And, there's talk that any sort of fish that's hard to describe or doesn't really fit a particular classification might be called a whale.
So like a sea cow or
it might be confused
a
as
dugong.
being a whale or something like that.
All right.
So anyway, yeah,
So is it a religion or is it like a community thing? Like, because, temples, there are some small temples that are like family temples, but there's also temples, let's say in a cul-de-sac or an enclave that is like a community worship area. For this particular one that you visited.
It's a good question. These temples are dotted all the way up the coast. I don't know. Some people might say it's a cult.
Oh.
But I wouldn't go that far.
Is there a donation box?
Yes, there was.
Oh, okay.
There was. Well, it's just, it's just like a regular sort of temple, really.
Okay.
But there just happens to be whale bones in there. And it's an important part of fishermen's culture.
So you said it was dotted along. What else did you see aside from this small one with the dogs?
Well, I'd heard of another one up in a fishing village about 20 kilometres north of Vũng Tàu.
Okay.
That has a temple, but in the temple grounds, there's a whale cemetery.
You saw this?
Yeah, so I got on the motorbike the next day and rode up along the coast there past Long Hai and then further up. It's Phước Hải village, fishing. It's a small fishing village.
Yeah, I've heard of it.
Basically it's in between Long Hai and Ho Cham.
Okay.
People might know Ho Cham. And it's about, 20 to 25 kilometres north of Vũng Tàu.
It's a cemetery?
Yeah, there's a whale cemetery. And so obviously whales are revered. And so whenever a whale gets washed up on the beach or,
remnants,
perhaps captured or there's some kind of remnants or that, whatever happens and they get discovered, they're brought to this temple ground and then buried, given a ceremony. And when I was there were probably about, I don't know, there could have been 50 to 60
tombstones.
Graves.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and they're mounds.
Okay. Well,
it's quite solemn.
Well,
it's eerie.
Well, when you say mound, it's probably, just some kind of like physical limitation of you can't dig too deep in the sand.
Yeah.
So it's not like super 6 feet under. No. So they just put a mound to.
And there's also a stone,
a
headstone there that's got when the whale was found or buried, and then a name. They've given each one a name.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's kind of spooky as well.
Did it have flowers and some kind of like?
People had been praying there, so there's some flowers there, incense.
Oh, wow.
Footprints sort of all around the place. So there are people visiting throughout the day and perhaps sort of paying their respects.
Wow, I didn't know that there's, that whales are a big thing.
They're quite revered.
Wow.
Yeah. And so much so that in Vũng Tàu each year in September, they have a whale festival. So when you go to the whale temple, at the front of it is like I don't know how long it is, probably about 5 or 6 or maybe even 10 meters long, a whale float. It's kind of a float thing that they obviously bring out every
during the
September
festivals
to walk down the streets. Yeah.
Well, that's kind of like a super big float. They need to get pulled it with a tractor.
Yeah, I think which brings me to the next point. Yes, good segue. While I was in Phước Hải, there was kind of this what I called an unofficial tractor pull. Okay. Now, I grew up in the bush in Australia and, grew up driving tractors. So I got very excited when I saw all these tractors running
like
around
a farming tractor.
Yeah, they're just like a regular farming tractor. They're quite big. They got a cabin, Massey Ferguson's. Anyone who knows their tractors out there will know what I'm talking about. And there were probably 5 or 6 of them going up and down the beach and in and out and pulling out the fishing boats.
The coracles.
Yeah, they're called a coracle, I think. They're those round fishing boats, but not the old style. They're much bigger.
Heavier, probably,
much heavier. A whole bunch of men wouldn't be able to pull them out of the water. So they get these tractors to pull them out and pull them high and dry up onto the beach. They've got a motor in them as well.
But it can't chug along, like enough to get to the beach on their own?
Well, when I was there, they come in.
Okay.
They come in through the surf. So it's actually it's quite wild, the water there. I wouldn't swim there even. I'm a good swimmer. I probably wouldn't swim there by myself. And they come in as far as they can, depending on the tide.
Yeah.
So when I was there, it was probably heading out.
Yeah.
The tide was probably heading out, and it was probably about 100 meters right up to the shoreline, foreshore.
Yep.
There's a foreshore there. And they'd come in, pull them out, and then the fishermen would pay them a small fee, and then they'd unload their catch.
Wow.
Which wasn't much, actually, at that time. That was quite significant.
Well, maybe it's also because of the season.
Yeah, it might have been the timing, because on the foreshore there are a bunch of cafes there, sort of little pop-up style, mum and pop sort of cafe shops or whatever you want to call them.
With a hammock?
Yeah, there are a few of those, but they were just packed with fishermen. So I was there at a time when, driving down the street and nearly every third or fourth building was a cafe packed with fishermen all looking out into the ocean.
How about
the weather.
In terms of seafood, like restaurants in that area?
Well, it took a little bit of a while. I was asking the locals and hoping that some of the fishermen who'd brought out some of that
fish.
Fresh squid with ink, mind you. Now,
super hard to get squidded ink in the city.
Yeah, anyone familiar with Vietnamese cuisine will know that the Vietnamese generally, as a rule, don't eat the ink.
Yeah.
Whereas Filipinos like Mel... Yep. They can't get enough of it.
It's the Spanish tradition in us.
Yeah, must be. Yeah. So, interestingly, the Vietnamese don't like it and they'll throw it away generally. So I was hinting at these fishermen. I'm like, hey,
where can I get that?
Well, I was sort of saying, let's go and can you cook it up for me somewhere? It was so fresh. Anyway, they pointed me in the direction of a restaurant, and eventually I found this one called Tan Van. And awesome. I had salt and pepper squid, and I had this favorite fish of mine called cá đuốc.
Yeah, well, cá đuốc is super expensive in the city, and you can hardly get them.
You don't see it much. It reminds me of whiting. So anyone in Australia who's used to having fish and chips and perhaps paid a little bit more, like especially up in Queensland, you might get some whiting as your fish and chips. It's absolutely
I love cá đuốc.
Beautiful.
Oh, wow. All those places that you mentioned in Vung Tau. I wish I could head out right there right now.
And I've left so many out.
Wow.
So there's going to have to be a few more trips back, I think.
More videos to come as well?
For sure, which leads me to some shout-outs. We probably should shout out a couple of people. And I'd like to shout out Vietnamese Language Garden for supporting me in my Vietnamese language journey.
Which was very helpful in Vung Tau.
Yes, it got me a few places, which was really good. At the least, it gave me confidence to
interact with the locals.
Speak, try Vietnamese, try as hard as as I could. I'd like to thank Miss Tao, who is the owner of Vietnamese Language Garden, and a big get well soon. I believe she fell off her motorbike just the other day, and it was her birthday on the same day. So thinking of you, Miss Tao, and of course my teacher, Miss Luan. She's featured in one of my videos so far, and she's due to feature in a couple more coming up.
That's great.
So thank you, Miss Luan, for mostly your patience. And also Mr. Din.
Mr. Din. I love Mr. Din.
Yeah, at Coco Homestay. Now, if you're looking for somewhere to stay in Vũng Tàu, I suggest you look up Coco Homestay. I don't think he's got a Facebook page at the moment.
But we're shouting him out in the addresses below.
Yeah, for sure. Now, he's located in between Front Beach and Back Beach at a beach unofficially or officially called Pineapple Beach.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a great little spot right on Ha Long Street, and it's faces
near the Black
west.
Pearl.
Right, nearly next door to the Black Pearl, which I was lucky enough to have a quiet beverage there when I was there last, and it was pretty. It's actually quite a cool little place. It's quite actually not little; it's big.
Well, it fits right into our very nautical theme for this podcast.
It's perfect. Yeah. Okay, well, that's it for this episode. Thank you for joining me, Mel.
No problem. Thank you for having me.
And thank you out there for listening. Feel free to let me know if there's anything or anywhere you'd like me to try. And don't forget, you can catch up with everything the Bureau's doing on the website, thebureauasia.com, and YouTube, and also on Facebook and Instagram. Where at, Mel?
At the Bureau Asia.